Welcome to the Play to the Whistle podcast. International week, so a bit of a different makeup to this episode. But I'm joined with the usual hosts, T. Dot and Kieran. How you guys doing?
Yeah, good man. What you saying?
All good, man. Just tired, man. I stayed up for the boxing, but well worth it. Well, worth a great fight,
100%.
man. Yeah, man.
100%.
No, 100.
Yeah, man. So it's a bad week actually. Even though it's International Week, obviously the major news this week is probably the Newcastle takeover. Yeah, what's your thoughts on it, Kieran?
You shouldn't have started with me, because I want to be the balance and the voice of reason. But I mean, obviously for Newcastle fans, yeah, it's a great acquisition for them. They've obviously when it might actually take over like mid 2000s, so like they've obviously been going on with that for many years. It comes with a word of caution, isn't it? Like a lot of people are saying they've got their club back. Newcastle fans, it's just being leased to them. That's not their club. But listen, yeah, no pessimism. Got to enjoy it. I'm going to ask T Dot about managerial stuff in a moment. But yeah, in terms of fans, like you got to enjoy it because it is where it is. That you can't change it. Embrace it, enjoy it. Know what the pros are, what the cons are, but. Obviously, one person that might be not sharing that sentiment is Steve Bruce. And T. Dot, I'm going to ask you, what do you think it's inevitable? I know there's some stuff in the paper today, and if so, who do you think is the right person for that job right now?
It's a difficult one to say. Personally, I think Antonio Conte is the big name that's been thrown out there, but it's a difficult one because I think it depends obviously we know the direction they want to go in, but it all depends on their projects and their plans and how quick they want. I think I was reading the other day, they want the Premier League is the first kind of milestone that they want to hit, but it depends. Conte could achieve that, I think, in 2 or 3 years. I think he could easily do that if they bring someone like him in that caliber. They just obviously need to get rid of a lot of the squad that's there now. So there's obviously going to be that transitional period. So do you bring in a manager to do that, to cover that kind of 2-year, 3-year window, then bring in someone like a Conte or whoever at that point is at that level? For me personally, I'd say I'd just bring in a Conte from now probably, and then you build on that. He's a manager that can get rid of that kind of not the dead wood, but you know what I mean. Obviously, they're going to spend money in the next 2 or 3 years, so bring in a Conte. He's going to attract big names as well to the club, and that's another thing that you got to think about. Do you want a manager that's in that transitional period? Then they've got to try and get in a big name or whoever, or do you want to get that big name in now, and then he attracts the players straight away as well. So it's a win-win. I think as in terms of what you're saying about like the leasing of the club and stuff, I think fans at the moment, especially what the Newcastle fans have been through, they don't really care about that. I know what you're saying in terms of like the leasing, and it's not really their club and they haven't really got it back, but when you're a fan and you've been, especially the Newcastle fans who've been loyal as well throughout, what is it, over like 16 years, 13 years, something like that, they've been loyal to the club. So I think whoever comes in, they'll be happy with. It's unfortunate for Steve Bruce, but he's just not going to be the man to pull them forward. But yeah, what's your thoughts, Jesse? What do you think? What would you do?
But like, even to what Kieran said about like the club being leased, every club's leased, bro. Like,
True.
Every club's leased, and no fans really own their clubs, or they're just stakeholders, man. Like they contribute financially to a club. All these clubs are businesses. But in terms of like the takeover, it's been on the cards for a while. Makes them like a big player in the game now. Like, and in terms of the management, they should just go for the jugular. Like, there's no point really going in transitions, going in stages. Just going. If there's a big dog out there and he wants the job, just give it to him, man, and let him just start to build the club in the shape that he wants it. Because that's all you need, really. Like, I know we like try to complicate football sometimes and that, but if there's a club and they can spend their way to the title. We've already seen it a few times happen in the Premier in the last 15 years anyway. So that's all they've got to do. Get the right manager, spend enough money, bring in quality players, and then they'll win the league.
I wanted to ask T Dot. So we're going around in a circle, but obviously with the Chelsea one, it's not really similar because Chelsea at the time weren't necessarily struggling. Like, you were still in Europe. I think you were challenging for Champions League anyway. But at the point, from what you can remember, like the rumors and then the acquisition, the first year or two. So I know there was like the year with like the Jeremies, and there was a couple of signings, and then it was when it was the next year, I think, when it was really like, wow. What was that like as a fan? Because that's something I've never experienced. Well, for me and Jesse, that was almost the reverse, isn't it? But what was that like as a fan to go from, being a stable Premier League club to, we got the riches, we got the paper, all of this stuff. You know what I mean?
It's just obviously it's a good feeling, isn't it? Obviously, when your club's spending and they're spending willy nilly, they're not really looking at the price tag. Then yeah, it's a good thing. And this is what I think. Even what Jesse was just saying, then in terms of like the fans, they're not really going to be too concerned about who comes in and takes that club over. They're just looking at who's going to be our new number 9, who's going to be our new number 8, who's going to be in goal for us. That's all they care about. And I think it will happen. I mean, it will happen to Newcastle. They'll go through that weird stage where they'll probably sign 1 or 2 duds or players that, on paper they look amazing, but they just don't do it in the Prem. They're going to do that, but then I think they'll get it right. And I think the good thing about Newcastle is they've obviously they've had a lot of, there's been a lot of different clubs that have done that now. So you look at Chelsea, you look at City, they've done it as well.
Yeah,
they've come in and spent a lot of money. So they hopefully will have learned. There's a lot of lessons learned that they'll be able to go into and say, well, we can't do it the way that City done it or the way that Chelsea did it. When we did it, Chelsea did it. We were quite infant. It was all in infancy. There wasn't really many big billionaire owners coming in and doing that. So we done a lot of that signing, like Kesmans and all them kind of players. You know what I mean? So I think from a fan's perspective, they'll love it. They'll just see fans coming in. Obviously, I think I said offline, they're probably going to spend money on the stadium as well, increase the capacity on stuff on that. So it means more fans coming into the games as well. So they'll love it, man. From a fan's perspective, it's a win-win. To be fair, they get rid of Mike Ashley and they get someone in who's willing to spend money as well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say in the group the other day. Like, the sheer amount of money that they have as owners is so substantial that even if they sign a few duds, they'll just keep spending and spending until they get it right. And when players know that clubs have that much money, they'll go for the wages and the project. Managers will go there too. Agents are going to be swarming them with players. And in terms of even like the backroom roles, they'll get the best in class. So they'll get the best director of football. They'll get the best people, like boardroom level CEOs, like directors, chief execs. They'll get all the right people in. And the way how the Saudis are anyway, they want to be the best at everything. Like, it's like a little competition between them, the Qataris, and the Abu Dhabi like royalty. So it's all a competition to see who can like be the best at whatever they do. And that's how they're going to treat this. They won't they don't want to just take this over for like a good time. Like, they want to be the best. So they'll make sure that happens. And in terms of and I think we've spoken about this before. What's made me laugh with this one is like all the I think it's all jealousy from other fans, like trying to take the mickey out of Newcastle.
100.
And then even the media bringing up things about like the Saudis, what do you call it? Their
the football washing.
All that stuff.
Money,
the civil rights record and all that type, not civil rights, human rights record. But that's all ridiculous anyway, because that's all well known. Like, we know that, and the media know that. So it's no point bringing it up now just because they bought a club.
Can I ask you a question though, Jesse, about, and this isn't directed at you, it's a general question. Given what the last bit that you've just said, at what point do we as consumers of football, whether it's like watching, paying, at what point do we need to be more socially and politically aware of what's going on? Because although this, they're not. This isn't the first time, and there's obviously other bits going on. But at what point do we? I'm thinking about United, for example. We've talked about the Trump, the Glazers involved with the Trump administration, etc. At what point does a fan need to think, "Oh, hold on a sec. There's a massive conflict of interest here." So not you, but just a fan.
Yeah, but look, and this is what I mean. Fans are all hypocrites. It's plain and simple, like of every single club, because like all clubs to an extent have blood on their hands, and that's what makes me laugh about this all. Is like everyone wants to play like the moral high ground when it's not their club, but in reality, most clubs have blood on their hands. Their owners are doing something dirty behind the scenes, whether it's politically wrong, whether not going to talk about certain clubs, but like they've got certain owners have links to certain organizations that are connected to wars, for example, But no one don't care as long as it's like the light ain't shined on their club, and it's as simple as that. All clubs are hypocrites because they can talk about that stuff now, but then it's the UK that sells Saudi Arabia weapons to do the stuff that they've done. So, like, and when clubs have players that do certain things or they commit racist abuse, for example, they defend them. When their players do other things off the field, they defend them. So it's all the same, man. All these clubs are the same. Fans are the same. So
I agree. I'd even take it one further. I think even going away from football, a lot of these big brands that we all wear, it's the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Like you look at like I don't want to again name names, but a lot of these big name brands and sportswear brands or whatever, if you deep dive into like a lot of the stuff that they do, you probably would never wear them again. So
that's what I'm saying.
I think there's a lot of that happens across a lot of different
society
areas, in society. But I think I get what you're saying, though, Kieran. I think in terms of like the line in the sand kind of thing. But for me as a fan, certain elements of it, I'm just not socially aware of it. So I can admit that I don't socially know everything about what's going on in the world. That's because I don't read newspapers. So unless someone tells me something, I don't really know. But Jesse's right, man. I think in terms of across the board, every football fan and clubs and all that stuff, it's all just hypocrisy and stuff, and it's just a madness. So I think in a way you kind of have to distance yourself from it, but also be aware of it as well at the same time.
Yeah, because look, I think to answer your question directly, is like fans won't do it. Like they won't draw a line under it because they support their clubs. Because really, if you're going to draw your line on the football, you draw your whole line on the football and not watch it because there's so much. FIFA's dirty, UEFA's got issues. They're dirty as well. The whole Qatar World Cup is a mess. People are dying building them stadiums. So, but people are still going to watch the World Cup and still going to go to it.
100.
So it's like.
So there's no line, like in essence, is it?
If a team gets 3 points and they lift the trophy at the end of the season, no one bats an eyelid about anything.
There's too much money involved in football.
Very true.
For it to be an issue in football, because money is the thing that speaks the loudest. And
I remember what I said. Remember what I said in the chat. Yeah, sorry to cut you. No one cares when it's their club. That's the most important thing. If the Saudis took over, I don't know, Liverpool, for example, or Man United, or they took over Watford, like they would all be over the moon. No one would care. So it's just because it's not them that they bring up all this. Yeah. They bring up all this.
I'm over the moon for Newcastle though. I when I heard the news that it went through, I was made up for them because I think as a fan, I'm speaking from not even that they've earned it, just that they've been through a lot of shit over the years, and I think as a fan, from a fan's perspective, I know all the other madness that's going on, but from a fan's perspective, I'm made up for them because they're loyal fans. They're very, very loyal, very like through thick and thin. They support that club, and even the times when they got relegated, the fans were still there. When they came back, the fans were still there. So I think from a fan's perspective, we're talking football and fans' perspective, I'm made up for them. But a lot of the madness is going on, not just in football, but across. Yeah, if you look into a lot of stuff, you'll be there all day, get down loads of rabbit holes.
No, but that's what I mean, and I kind of do that. So I know about, also I'm not going to bring it up because we're live, but I know some of these owners are doing, innit, and what they're connected to. So that's why I don't really like. It doesn't really bother me. Good for their fans. They're happy and they've won the lottery pretty much. So yeah. And they can get to do what they was trying to do in the 90s. So fair play to them.
I'm gonna obviously we're gonna talk about, I say the sack race. I was looking at a table earlier, I'm looking at it now. There's really not too many managers in danger of losing their job. Before we move on to it, Steve Bruce, is he hard done by? Do you think he keeps his job if the takeover doesn't happen?
He's kept his job this long, yeah, because Mike Ashley checked out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Who did I say?
No, I said it's Steve. It's because of Steve Bruce, but also, yeah, you're right. Mike Ashley.
Yeah, Mike Ashley didn't give a shit no more. He checked out, and I don't think he cared as long as Liverpool, until Newcastle, as long as they stayed in the league. I don't think he was really bothered. He's not really invested in the club anymore. He's been trying to sell it for ages. I don't really think he cared, to be honest. I don't think he's hard done by. I don't think he's done that great of a job. It's just about survived. I think the football has been dire, really. They've been complaining. The fans have been complaining about it for a long time. So
I think he's lucky, if anything,
that he survived this long.
Yeah,
I mean,
a nice severance.
Yeah, he's not. They're not gonna look. I think he's got one game left, really. If he loses the next game, they'll get rid of him. He'll be gone soon, and they'll look to replace him pretty sharpish. You know, it's the whole direction of the club has changed. It's not just about surviving anymore. Now it's like, all right,
thriving,
now it's time. Now it's time to. It's the road to Europe now. It's the road to the top four. It's the road to winning the league. He's never done any of those things. So now it's about bringing in a manager that can do that.
He'll know that as well. He'll know.
Yeah, he's not stupid.
Like, in terms of business, they would probably already told him the plan. Do you know what I mean? Like, he probably already knows all of that.
Yeah, 100%,
so it won't come as a surprise to him, because they'll have sat him down and said, "This is the plan. This is where we see you in it. This is what we're doing." No, but that's how business works.
Man's in a different book. Man's plan is like the next building.
It's a harsh reality, but that's just how business works. Like, they would have told him already, "Thanks for your service and all this and that, but it's time to move on." So he'll know that already. It won't come as a surprise if he gets sacked after the next game, or because they'll want someone in before the next window, and they'll want to have that person in plenty of time and able to assess what they kind of think they need first as a priority and things like that. So it won't come as a shock to Steve Bruce, man. He knows he should have been sacked 12 months ago. That won't be a shock to him.
Yeah. It's like anything else, man. It's like if someone was doing all their shopping in Primark, getting all their socks, their boxes, all their clothes from Primark, and then you suddenly giving them enough money to go shop in Selfridges or Harvey Nicks, they won't know how to spend the money. They won't know what to do in there. Do you know what I mean? So
coming back with just bare candles.
Yeah, like they won't know what to do in them places. Yeah, like like nothing goes together. Yeah, you won't know what to do with all that. So you got to bring in a man that knows how to shop in them places. Come back with an outfit. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he's not the man for that job, but that's okay. He'll go and get another championship job. And that's the other thing. As much as it's been boring, he has kept them in the league, so he'll get another job again.
I think he just needs to retire now. I feel like he's.
No, I don't think he does. What, Steve Bruce?
What's he doing, man? Was he going to take another championship club up and then get sacked?
But look at Neil Warnock. He's been doing that for
a
time.
So whether we like it or not, or whether fans liked it or not, he kept them in the league more than one season. It was like the last 2 seasons he's done it. So
yeah.
He'll get another job because he can stabilize the club. He can, get a team to survive. So he'll get another job. That's what all them guys like. Theo just said Warnock. That's how Sam Allardyce made a career at keeping clubs up, making loads of money off bonuses for survival.
Yeah, really.
So he'll get another job, man. He'll get another championship job. Norwich might go down. They might take him.
Norwich are going down.
Going
down.
He'll get another job.
Well, let's talk about what jobs might be available, because obviously Watford, for some reason, in 15th place in the second international break, have sacked their manager and brought in Ranieri. I think most of their managers, I think since Zola, which was 2012, I think it was, last on average about 5-6 months, if that. They brought in Ranieri though, who's obviously he's a Premier League champion. He's a good coach, good manager. T. Dot, is this? Because I'm asking you because this is like a poor man's Chelsea model. Like Chelsea, they'll sack the manager to get what they need, but for Watford, like what? Can you make sense of why they've done that, or do you agree with it? Do you think it's just another road to relegation again?
Boy, it's a tough one because I'm just looking at their results now from the start of the season, and some of them have been, from looking at them. Obviously, I've not watched all these games, but some of them are like looking a bit mad.
Exactly.
But then they've had some tough ones. I mean, Tottenham obviously, that's a tough game. But even losing to like Stoke City in the cup, like I don't know. Again, I didn't watch the game, so maybe they put out a couple of like their reserves or whatever. But I think it's the results. It's maybe the manner in which they're losing. Because I think looking at these results here, I can kind of see why they probably got rid of him. Bringing in Claudio Ranieri, he's either going to go one or two ways. They'll either get like a little, just scraping the top 10 or something, which I can't really see, or he ain't gonna stand the test of time and he'll be sacked before they probably get relegated. And you hit the nail on the head. It is kind of like a similar project to Chelsea, but yeah, we just kind of always make sure that we get something at the end of it. There's always the end result is there. But I think in terms of Watford, they are that kind of yo-yo club, and for me, just not as bad as West Brom, no, but they're up there with that kind of, they'll come up, sustain a bit of Premiership state. Yeah. They'll get the status of Premiership for 1 or 2, maybe 3 seasons, then they'll go down. But they've had a lot of players that have been there for a while. Thinking back to like Troy Deeney and some of the other players who've been there, they've lost a lot of them now. So it's that kind of, again, a bit of a transitional period for them as well.
But I'm trying to think, because I can't remember the season that they originally came back to the Premier League. But when they did, they was there for a long time. So
yeah, I think they sustained that, but then
they've only been relegated once in like the last, like I think 7 or 8 seasons.
Yeah, but they'll
so that means the model must be working. Because I know it's a high turnover of managers, but the model must be working, no? Because if you only had one relegation,
depends what the model is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what we can see, that obviously they give managers a really short time. As soon as it looks like it's on the dip, they just get rid of the managers. But what I'm looking at maybe in a different way, that I know it's a bit harsh, and just like for Chelsea, but I think it works because they managed to sustain the Premier League for a long time doing what they was doing. And I think they've only got relegated once in that time and they come back up. So yes, the managers don't last that long there, but the model clearly works for them. Because there's other managers, like, I'd say Norwich are a real yo-yo club. So West Brom, they literally do come up and down. But I don't know, maybe that's where I see it. I think it does work for them. Even though it's not nice for managers, I think it does work. And Ranieri is a very good manager. It could work. It could keep them up. Just have to see, because some other clubs aren't doing too well this season. So we have to see.
But Burnley's another one. I think Burnley are very sort of, don't think they've won a game all season so far.
Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle, Norwich haven't won games. In Leeds and Crystal Palace have won 1 out of 7.
I still think Southampton will go, to be quite honest with you.
Go down.
Yeah, man. I think they'll go down. I think they're shocking defensively. I don't think they're going to score enough goals. And they just capitulate. When they concede one, they just, like, they always look like the floodgates will really open.
I said hold another 9.
I said 9. They'll hold 27.
Listen, I think if a team can hold that scoreline, more than once in the last 2 or 3 seasons, that's not good. That's not a good thing.
Under the same manager as well.
So I feel like it's their time now, and they've sold so many players over the years that eventually
big money as well. Big money.
Yeah, for big money, but eventually that catches up with you, and there's only so much replacing you can do before the standards that you replace the players with starts to drop, which it has, and you're susceptible to relegation, and that's what I think is going to happen with them.
Yeah, I think the Newcastle takeover is gonna kill someone because obviously you might know I had them to go down. I feel like that's probably not gonna happen now, especially they'll sack Bruce, they'll buy.
It
So
won't happen.
yeah, so
January.
it's obviously Norwich are down, so it's just two places. And like I said, unless Norwich do something that no team has done before, in terms anyway. But I think, like we were saying, Burnley could go down. The lead situation is interesting because there's rumours that the owner wants to sell, and they want to sell it to the second biggest stakeholder. I think he owns one of the, I think it's the NFL franchises in, obviously in America, and Leeds have looked all over the place this season. But I wonder with that managerial change at Watford, if things don't really line up, because I don't know, they could get dragged into that now. Well, they weren't ever out of it, but that just might make it a little bit more difficult for them to stay up.
Wait, I can't remember off the top of my head. Who's the other team that came up with Watford and Norwich?
Brentford, who obviously aren't going back down. As from looking at it, yeah, like it seems unlikely.
Yeah, I think it'll be Southampton, Norwich definitely will go, and don't know who the last one would be at the moment. I think Burnley and Leeds will sort it out.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll have. I don't think they'll have great seasons, but I think they'll get enough points to survive. Watford might be the other team that goes, but we have to see. We have to wait and see. But I think Norwich are trying to play ball, but like their squad's not even as good as the last time they was in the league, and they've lost players that they've not really replaced from that time, and they're just not good enough, to be honest.
I think they might get less points than Derby, or they'll be, what did they get? Was it 8 points or 11 points? I think
something like
11.
that.
Yeah,
11,
I think that could be Norwich, unless something drastic happens, unless they unearth someone in their youth team or they pick up some amazing, like a Mascherano Tevez kind of signing that West Ham did.
Corruption.
Well, we talked about it before, innit? I don't know.
But that goes back. See, even that that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like even when two players come to a club like that, if it's your club, there's no one bats eyelids. Everyone knows the whole situation was wrong, but no one cares when it's their team. Yeah.
What do you think of? What do you think of? The Wolves are an interesting team. I feel like could get sucked down there because although they're playing good football, I know. Obviously they've got 3 wins already, but they're the kind of team where I look at them and I think, wait, you're either going to win or lose, and you look like sometimes you're going to lose more than you're going to win. And if you're not picking up odd points, do you think they're going to be calm? Or I'll throw this one at T Dot because I know you've watched them a little bit.
I think they'll be all right. I don't worry about them. I think they've got a very good squad, and you got to remember they've had obviously the managerial change as well. But I think they'll be fine. I think they've played some tough. I think they obviously played. Didn't they play United already? They played Spurs.
They played the United. I think Spurs. I think they played one of the big boys as well. In the top
and Brentford is a tough game. I think they lost to Brentford as well. Brentford are going to slap up a couple of teams, I think, this season. So I think it's for me. It's too early to kind of call Wolverhampton out. I don't think they'll be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. But I think there's a lot of football still to be played. But I'd be very surprised if they're down there as well come the end of the season.
I think the other thing you have to look at with Wolves as well, obviously they've had the managerial change, massive shift in style of play, but also a lot of their big players are coming back from injuries still. So it takes time to get your match sharpness back to 100%. So I think you're seeing that with some of their players. But the games, I've watched a few of their games this season, man. They're flying, man.
Yeah.
Like I think the only issue with them is that they've just not put in the back of the net. But in terms of going down, they're not going
Jimenez
down.
will do that. Jimenez will do that eventually.
Yeah, he will, 100%. And you have to remember as well, they're coming. This is their first season, I think, since the first time that they come back up. That they don't have Europe to contend with. So just playing once. Actually, I don't think they played in Europe last season either. But they don't. They're going to be fresh. They're playing once a week, and they'll be fine, man. They've got too much quality to go down, man. I know we've heard that before, but
but
they're not going down, man.
Yeah. Jesse, can I ask you about Brendan? At what point does he start coming under pressure? They're 13th. They've got eight points. They've won 2.
Yeah, it's too early in terms of position and things like that. They'll be fine. They'll finish top 6, top 7. And Leicester ain't going to sack Brendan. If they sack Brendan, who are they going to get to replace him?
No, I'm just saying, at what point though does he come? Because they're in Europa. They look like they're struggling with that. Again, we talked about them, I think, last time with just player wise, like trying to fit everyone in. They've had a few injuries. The league is looking strong this year. We can't deny it. Well, we won't include Newcastle in that, but Everton looking like they might do something. You never know with Tottenham and Arsenal.
I think if they're 13th by halfway through the season, or it's still in that type of position, they're not in Europe anymore, then probably he'll be under pressure. But if they're still in Europe, they get out of that group and they start to like creep up the table, which they will, he'll be fine, man. To be quite honest with you. You just won the FA Cup.
I was just about to say that. They've just won the FA Cup. They're punching above their weight in terms of who they're mixing around with. I've said it last season, they shouldn't even be, for me, in a conversation of a top 4 or top whatever. Said. They shouldn't be even in that conversation with us, like in terms of Chelsea, United, Liverpool.
People,
I mean, big clubs.
Short-termism hits people like so much that they forget what Leicester really are. And even if you talk about budgets and spending, they don't spend that much. Like, they are like really punching above their weight. So even for them to get top 6, that's a fantastic job. You've just seen how much money Arsenal spent in the summer. They'll probably still finish above them. Same with Spurs. I'm not like singling out like Arsenal or Spurs. I'm not like having a go at them, but I think people forget how much like they really are punching above their weight. You know, but I think he'll be fine. To be quite honest with you, and they know that even with that manager, they know they're punching above their weight, even with having him as a manager. Because if when he moves on from Leicester, it's to another European club.
But when you look at Leicester though, and I'm not like disagreeing with what you're saying about the wages and the transfer spend, but I'm looking at their squad. Not in relation to where they are right now, but should they be doing better with the players that they've got?
I don't think so.
And where do they sit for you guys then? Because
I would have to see for me.
I'll ask you that question because you're asking us.
Yeah.
Where should they be finishing with that squad? Because considering what Man United done in the summer. Considering what Chelsea have done, they just won the Champions League. Liverpool squad, Cities. Where do you think they should be finishing?
That's what I'm asking. Because I don't know. That's my no. But then I'm asking because I don't know. Like because I don't see them in a category with West Ham, Villa, like Palace, Watford. I see them.
I see them in like an Everton kind of bracket.
That's what I'm asking.
Everton bracket, but. For me, they're just overachieving. I think that the top of that kind of second bracket of teams that you kind of think about at the start of the season might get Europe, like a Everton,
they are
Arsenal, a Tottenham, the top of that kind of.
That's what I was going to actually just say. Yeah, they're in that bracket with Everton and Spurs, where Spurs historically were that team that they would get good players. They would always finish in the top half. They might be able to get a good cup run, could finish in Europe if someone had a bad season. That's what Spurs were before Pochettino, really, isn't it? And then he came in, solidified again like Brendan, punching above their weight.
Made them title challenges.
Turned them into a European team. But in reality, Spurs were with Everton in that bracket. And that's where I put Leicester. Because really, if Arsenal are performing the way that they're supposed to be, and United are, then they'd be ahead of them. So.
Yeah, I think that's. I think for me, where I see them is I see them with, it's probably like the 5th best team in the league with the 5th best squad. Manager wise, he's up. He's probably, I say, the 4th best manager in the league for me. I think him and Tuchel, maybe they're quite close, but I think Klopp and Pep, they're in their own kind of league on their own. He's miles better than Ollie, obviously. He's not much better than Rafa, but I think in the last number of years, he's demonstrated that he's ahead there. And I do look at their squad, and I just think I'm not criticizing where they are now, and it's so early in the season. But looking at Vardy, he's always among the top scorers. Tillmans is one of the best midfielders in the league. They've got Ndidi, fullbacks. I've just Kasper Schmeichel. These are he's a Premier League winner. So that's why I was just thinking at myself, like, what are Leicester and where are they? But for me, I put them as just missing out on that top 4 category, and they're kind of hooked in there because Ollie's so shit. So for me, actually, it's not fair on Leicester because they don't have the resources, but manager wise and squad wise, I see them as being like that 5th, 6th place team, and that's where they should be finishing personally. But
that's where they are finishing.
Yeah.
So I think for them to break that, it's massive.
Yeah.
How can a team like that break that if United then just got Varane, Sancho, Ronaldo, and that's just a top 4 team. United's just a top 4 team, and they can do that. So it's tough to break that.
No, 100. All right. So you're not getting sacked anytime soon, yeah?
I'll be surprised, man.
No.
I'll get sacked before him. Put it like that.
It depends what you're up to, cuz.
No, man, he
ain't getting sacked from
Brendan ain't getting sacked, man.
Yeah.
He'll probably go get the doctorate at the uni for bringing in the FA Cup, man.
Yeah.
Probably getting that soon.
Like
keys to the getting like keys to the city and that. FA Cup. That's their first
massive
FA Cup in.
Years.
That's crazy stuff, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
And lastly, I just wanted to ask you about then, obviously, Jesse, your 2 favourite clubs to take the piss out of, Arsenal and Spurs. No, I'm joking. No, are they realistically like, and just thinking, obviously, taking away all the banter and everything, are these 2 managers really under pressure? Do you think? Because I don't personally. I'm going to answer my own question. I don't think they are. I think there's a lot of fan pressure, but I think there's a lot of overreaction, and I don't think they're doing that bad of a job, and I really don't think they're under pressure from their board.
I don't think Nuno can't be under. Nuno's under fan pressure, but I think they're 2 different. We're forgetting Nuno's new into that role at Spurs. Arteta's had a bit more time, so I don't think we can even put the 2 in the same conversation, in my opinion.
I know it's just a question about both, but obviously different takes.
No, I think Spurs have to give Nuno proper time as well, not like 6 after 3 or 4 games that we're talking about he's the wrong man for the job, and that's just fans talking. But I think in terms of Arteta, he's had a lot of time. He hasn't got certain things right, but he did win the FA Cup with them, so I don't know. We've just been saying that. I don't know.
I think, judging by the amount of money that they've just spent on what they're trying to do, they're clearly trying to build, because they've got the youngest team in the league. They're clearly obviously trying to build a new team, phase out some of the older players, phase out some of that crap players that they've got in that squad. So I think if they was going to sack him, they would have already done it. They was on some mad run of results last season, and they still kept him. And even the way they started this season, they still kept him. So I think as long as he stays in and around the top half, they'll keep him. Because if you look at how young the squad is, that's a ready-made excuse for any losses or any turns of bad form.
They're learning.
They're learning, and it will take time. The process, the favourite one, like projects and all these buzzwords, they'll use all of them, and he'll keep his job. To be honest, I don't think he's on the. I don't see it. For him to go, he'd have to go on a mad run of results. Arsenal have to be near the relegation zone. like genuinely near it. That's the only way that he goes. But look, it's funny because clubs like them, Spurs, I throw United in there as well. All these clubs, if they don't get their act together soonish, they'll be done when it comes to winning trophies because
Newcastle will replace them happy.
Yeah. No, they will, like, it's inevitable. You know? It's like gravity. it's going to happen. So
and said
no, but look, we have to, you just gotta keep it real. Like it's not but like it's a lot of money. Like I don't it's mad.
But when do you see Newcastle sort of showing that level of quality? Do you reckon that's in the next? Do you reckon next season, or do you reckon the season after?
One after for me.
Say it again.
Sorry, no, I was going to say the one after.
Not the season after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, pretty much the same. I think this would be like we have to see what they do this January, what type of players come in, and then obviously the summer's going to be madness. I reckon they'll win the league within the next 5 seasons.
Oh yeah, that's a given. That's a given.
I think they win the league in the next 5 seasons. Probably, I'd even if they get a top manager in now before January and he can spend and start building now, I reckon that 5 even turns into 3 seasons. But if they don't do that, then I'd stick with the 5. Well, it's not going to be like it's not hard to do that like in our league. I know it looks hard because of what Liverpool and City are doing, but really we haven't had a title race. The last time we had a title race was when they both finished on same points.
1 point apiece.
1 point apiece. But the last couple haven't been title races, and the ones before that weren't either. So it's not that hard to crack the top 4, number 1, and then to put up a title challenge if you get everything right ain't hard either. You know, if you get someone a proven manager, say if they got Conte, and I think he ruled himself out. I'm not too sure. I'd have to check, but you get someone like Conte in. Oh, it's an open check. It's a blank checkbook. Who do you want, Conte? Then he gives them a list, and they get all the players. It'll be quick. That's basically what Inter done. I know Inter already had a few players, but they've done that massive spend, and then they won Serie A within 2 seasons.
I think it's a bit different.
Obviously, it's different because Inter have players, but it's not at the same time because they just spent loads of money. So
they did. I agree with you, but I think Inter already had it wasn't like he took over Calgary and or Parma and then spent and like Inter had a lot of man there. But I do agree, and I think what I mean though. I think where I agree with you most is Pep obviously will be leaving in the next 2 or 3 seasons anyway. Like it seems like that's quite nailed on. I like Klopp. I think he's a really good manager, but I think the sustainability of the way he plays football, there's always going to be seasons where Liverpool will dip and are not. Their structure isn't built where they just go out and just spend 60, 70 every season. So I think that coincided will make it quick. And as long as United have Oli, as long as Arsenal have Arteta, as long as Rodgers and Benitez aren't at sides where they can do big damage, that it's a clear route. But I still think we won't see anything, not next season, but the one after, personally.
Yeah. But
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting, but it's inevitable as well. And like it's like I was saying at the start, man. All they have to do is just throw money at it, and eventually it sticks, and they will win the league. Like PSG done the same thing. It's just
that's a good comparison because that's kind of PSG were kind of at where Newcastle were at, give or take, at the point of the takeover.
It's not, and I don't even care. In terms of the man, like what you said about Pep and Klopp, even if they stayed there, they still will win the league. Like they're not like messiahs, or they're not Jesus. They're just top managers as well, and they've also but it's just I don't. People talk like they're just managers.
I know. Yeah, but like, what managers are better than them? That's what I'm saying. That's why I say it would be an issue.
But you don't have to be better than them to beat them.
They can lose games as well. They can lose. Yeah. They can lose leagues. I hear what you're saying.
Is Conte better than Klopp and Pep?
is a whole different. I don't think we've got time to get into that, but I hear what you're saying.
No, but that's my point.
Yeah, he's close. He's definitely close to that level. But if Conte had been, I think my thing is if Conte had been at peak Pep and Klopp, with I don't know, and it's too hard to say. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like he could come in and do a thing regardless of whoever is a manager in that league.
Yeah, I just think it's not like. I just don't think it's going to be difficult for them to do. Like,
yeah,
that's just my opinion, man. I don't really like. Obviously, I'm not trying to downplay Klopp or Pep, but they can be beaten.
Yeah, definitely.
It's it's just a matter of time whenever Newcastle eventually do it. Even if these guys are still there, I think they still will pick them eventually. Because what I'm saying is still what you just said about Liverpool. They don't have enough money to compete. Like they can go and get your Salahs and people like that around the right price, but when they can't do that, they don't spend.
Yeah. Gonna ask you, man, quickly because I know we're going to be wrapping up soon. Football League. Any clubs you've been following last couple of weeks? Any interesting matches you've seen? T-Dot, I know you've been watching I'll throw this at you. You've been watching reserves and a few of the conference, conference and below. Who's caught your eye the last couple of weeks?
Sheffield United under 23s are a very, very good team. To be fair, they battered Everton. Yeah, it was a abysmal game for Everton, but they've got some really good young players coming through at Sheffield United as well. Obviously, I watch a lot of Chelsea under 23s as well. But surprisingly, I watched Bromley yesterday, and their game was really good. They've got like a good little team now. So I was surprised. I haven't watched Bromley a lot at all.
They play good stuff.
Yeah, that was a really good game yesterday. Finished 2-0. It was a good game. They got a guy called Marcus Sabiller, I think his name was, or Sabiller, something like that. Young guy, very, very good. And he took if you haven't seen the goal, go and watch it. Because I'm telling you, it's probably, if that was a Messi or a Ronaldo, the whole internet would have gone on meltdown, because the way he took the goal, finish. And I think he's 18. So they played well. And Leyton Orient, obviously, I think they drew 1-1 in their latest game as well. But they're a team that obviously came up from the National League, and I think they're just outside the playoff places at the moment, or they think they're just hovering around there. So they're in the mix, I think, for the next promotion. If they can get into the playoffs or even automatic promotion, I can see them catapulting up the league. They're doing really well.
They're confident as well. I talked to a couple of their fans out there. They're quietly confident that as long as they can just hang in around there at the business end of the season, I think they're confident they might sneak in automatic or through the playoffs. But they have started well.
Sutton won in the last minute as well yesterday.
Yeah, great comeback, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the playoff places now, which is that's mad. It's actually crazy. Obviously, it's early days, but for them to, I thought they'd just be fighting relegation this season, and I think a good season would have been just to stay up. But for them to be in the playoff places, that's crazy.
They're on a great run of form though, because I know they had a really slow start. They were struggling for goals, but they've pulled some good results out of the bag recently as well. But yeah, that game was a cracker. The funny thing with League Two at the moment is I think there's a few teams that weren't really expecting to do much that are they're punching. I watched Swindon Forest Green yesterday. Swindon played them off the park. Like they're playing up from the back. I think it got to a point where Forest Green are at home, and obviously it's a local derby.
Was that first versus second as well? I think is it first versus second.
I think it was first versus third. Yeah, they're all sort of up there, because I think Harrogate, they smashed someone 6-1 yesterday, and they're 6-2. Second. Yeah, 6-2. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, Forest Green, they looked a bit tired. Like they just looked like they kind of ran out of ideas. I think they had a few players that they were missing as well. But Swindon, they were just expecting, like similar to Sutton, just to be fighting relegation. But when I watched them play, they looked like, I was thinking, are they even in this division? Like really good. They took their goals well. Their striker, I can't remember his name, but he was all over them. Like he was a nightmare. You know them players you play against where they just got energy for days. They're strong, but they're a bit the kind of guys that will pinch you when the referee's not looking. Like he looked like a real handful. So it's open because there's no one there that I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, they're going to steamroll it. I think any of them teams in, I'd say the top 12 can go off through automatic or the playoffs. Really good division at the moment.
What about the Championship? I know there wasn't many games. I don't think there was any games actually, but just thinking there's some big ones coming up. I think Friday it's West Brom versus Wolves. It's 3 derbies. I think QPR Fulham. I think it's the other one, and it might be Swansea Cardiff. I might have got that wrong, but I think there's definitely 3 big derbies this weekend coming up now. So it's going to be interesting.
I totally agree, and I think what's happened, and I kind of underestimated this, is there's a couple of sleeping giants that seem to have woken up. You've got a couple of the men that have come down, obviously, and then you've got a couple of the Midlands sides, because Coventry, I don't know, for me, from nowhere, they're all over it, and Stoke as well. I know they've got a couple of good youngsters in their side. I don't know if they've got. I need to check if they've got the lap from Man City, but that might have been last season. But they're doing all right. It's going to be tight at the top there, and whoever comes up, you feel like they probably got a decent chance of staying up because there's a couple of good men in them sides.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Championship more so because I think there's a lot of good teams in the mix, and obviously 2 of them going to come up, and then you get the one in the playoff as well. So it's going to be interesting as well, man. Looking forward to that.
No, 100. I feel last word on Derby, because I feel like, had they not had that points deduction, they might have been outsiders for the playoffs, because they had the -12 and are on 2 points now. So they've had some, with all things considered, they're only 7 points off safety. They've had some good results, but yeah, they're in a bit of a mess, and boy, they might start dealing with the devil. Obviously, Mike Ashley's interested in obviously buying them at the moment, and I mean, it might be good for them. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like it reminds me of when obviously when Tupac come out of jail and he signs the deal with Suge Knight, and you all know, like it's that kind of like would you do, isn't it? But that's what it reminds you of anyway, to a lesser extent. But anyway, that's I'm taking us down a path that maybe
no, but it's no, we always like to go down these paths, but look, it's the same as like what we were talking about earlier. Like, I don't even agree with these type of point deductions, because they run their club badly from a financial point of view. But if the top 6 can try and break away and make a Super League and not get in any trouble, how are clubs still getting point deductions like in the Football League? I think it's crazy. But
see on that. Cool. Well, that's all for today. Obviously, no Premier League football, but obviously big news for Newcastle. Basically, no one's going to probably get sacked for quite a little bit, and I think League 2 and the Championship. If you're sick and tired of the Premiership and you are becoming more politically aware of some of the takeovers, you can obviously go and check out the lower leagues, under 23s. But even lower than that.
Go and watch a non-league game, man. Go and pay a
£5. Go spend your peas there, innit? Yeah, get a pie. But yeah, definitely for me, the league to watch at the moment is League 2, because that's just going to be carnage, I think, throughout the whole season. But yeah, obviously, hit the subscribe button. Come follow us. You've got the obviously the handles at the bottom, but at the PTTW podcast on Twitter. Same on Instagram, and you can just Google us and find us on YouTube. Play to the Whistle. Thanks for listening, and obviously we'll catch you next weekend.